we'll try and keep things moving here and try and make sure that hopefully you get what you want out of the meeting today. I prepared just a few quick, took my prerogative as moderator to prepare a few quick questions here, or a few quick observations. I put this data in just to give everybody, we've come through the summer. We had a really tough spring with PRRS. We've come through the summer. It's been pretty quiet. Everybody's feeling pretty good. You come to the Leman conference. I always said never challenge PRRS at the Leman conference because it's going to make a liar out of you at the end of the day. So again, where did we end up last year when we look at the PRRS incidence? We ended up at the end of June at just short of 20% of the sow farms on the in-chimp data turning positive. And where have we been since then? Very little activity. So it's been really quiet since July through August, which we see every year, generally fairly quiet through there. The only other comment I'd make on this slide, if we go back here to when they started collecting the M-chimp data, you could see a lot more ups and downs here on the chart. This is category 1, the ASV category for PRRS in category 1, meaning that they're actively producing positive virus. And so you can see we've got a much higher population of sows actively producing PRRS positive pigs today than we did in the past. It used to be more cyclical, and unfortunately that's come at the cost of our category 4, which is the negative herds. And so more herds shedding virus, so more virus in the out there in the grow finish area. And this is a little different data. The M-chimp data comes from about a little over half of the sows in the US, and they report on a weekly basis their PRRS status. So it's a reported PRRS status on a weekly basis. The SDRS, the Swine Disease Reporting System, is looking at diagnostic data. So it's a way of validating, because it's a different data set collected in a different way, but looking at the number of positive cases for PRRS that they see at the major diagnostic labs across the Midwest. And you can see here this blue line is predicting where it should be, and you can see the last few weeks we've been well below the line, but unfortunately you can see that starting to move up like it has in the past. And this is breaking it down by category. And so if we look at the categories that are involved here, the red line is the wean to market. The blue line is the sows. The black line is everything, and the yellow line would be environmental samples, truck wash samples, miscellaneous samples that aren't necessarily directly tied to animals. And so you can see here what gives me heartburn as we come to this meeting is we can see already in August we're starting to move up, and this is just partial for September. I asked them to update it here just last week for me, so it's only the first half of September has taken a pretty steep move up, and that's not something new. If we go and look at the last 5 years, we can see here that every August we start to move up at different rates, and this is just one more of them where we're starting to move up. And if you look at the blue line, it follows about 2 months later. So the sow herds are following the wean to finish. As the wean to finish turns positive, a couple months later we start to see it move into the sow farms, move through the areas, more diverse, or more area spread starts to happen, and more PRRS starting to happen. So I just wanted to give everybody a little background, Dean, before we got started on kind of what's going on here. And our first speaker this afternoon, for what you really came to hear, is Dr. Dean Boyd is going to, he was technical and nutrition leader at Hanor and Triumph Foods. Previously, and an adjunct professor at NC State and Iowa State. And he's going to talk to us this afternoon about documented benefits of soybean meal for respiratory challenged pigs in the field.
Well, thank you for coming. I'm not sure that this is the best audio-visual setting that I've been in. Maybe the second worst in the last 4 weeks. I wanted to give a very short and very targeted presentation on field examples as a lead-in to the main part of this, which is from Drs. Brooke Smith and Ryan Dilger. I think this is the first time in a veterinary setting that we have put practice where there's substantial benefits up against the science. And also what we talk about, so you should find that fulfilling. If you're into integrating practice into science, you should really be thrilled. We'll stay here and talk to you as long as you want. But the other thing is, I think this is the first time that we have presented this kind of complex for you. So the purpose, again, is to simply give an inlay into some wonderful work out of the Dilger lab, I'll say. I just got out of hospice care to come and give this talk. I shouldn't even be walking around. I'm going blind. But as you know, soybean meal is an incredible amino acid source and energy source. However, it's a great disappointment to me to know that so many nutritionists don't appreciate the massive functional compound load and diverse load that you have from soybean, and that those have a medically beneficial effect for medical and health reasons. On that, the human side are well ahead of us. So, a fact is that soybean is one of the few tactical ingredients we can bring to the party. A few years ago, Tara Donovan and Eva Jablonski, two heroes in my mind, DVM types, asked if there wasn't anything that the nutritionist could bring to the table. And we simply, in a fortuitous way, we learned that soybean could have quite an effect, not on the mortality that comes as a result of PRRS, but in other areas. So that's a fact. It's a tactical ingredient. It probably won't be employed strategically unless the nutritionist and the veterinarian are working together. Now, just as a quick lead, about 2009, we inadvertently discovered that soybean has a profound effect on mitigating the terribly depressing effects of respiratory disease on growing pigs. In our case, we encountered PRRS, had circovirus, and there are the secondaries such as strep suis that we were faced with. And it just so happened that we were looking at a soybean effect. What I have is a feedstuffs paper, which Paul Yeske is a co-author on, to document this for you. But that's a very substantial case. And what was interesting is it wasn't only us at Honor that found that. Gene Gorley and Fitz at Swine Graphics, Aaron Gaines when he was with the Mashoffs, all found the same thing at the same time. James Usry had set up the same study among us. Two of us had mainly a PRRS challenge. The other one had, as I remember, a mycoplasma issue. But we were stunned that soybean could prevent a 23-point drop in feed conversion. I'm not talking 5 or 6, 23 points. And that it could prevent an 18-point drop or 19-point drop in rate of gain. And so in today's terms, or over the last 5 years, feed conversion alone in that 3-week period could be could cost you $1.75 to $2.25 a pig. And if you're looking to maximize growth as you come into the summer, there's some more damage at that point. So I know it's probably kind of hard to see, and I do apologize. The first illustration of the three that I'll give has to do with PRRS-affected pigs. They came from a PRRS unstable sow farm, single sow farm flows. 10,000 pigs on the site approximately. 2,500 pigs were able to be tested because 2 of the barns are retrofitted as such. And in this case, the diets were the first diet, the most important diet for the weaned pig, and the second diet, the second most important diet for the weaned pig. The level of soy was varied in those. Whoops, sorry. The first 2 diets had kind of similar levels of 300 and 400, so that's fairly typical. The next diet series had 450 to 550, so we'll call that moderately high. And then we had levels that are never fed, almost never fed, is 600 pounds of soybean in the first diet, which is too high to maximize growth, and 7 in the second. But the point is that we wanted to look at the percentage of pigs that were pulled over the 42-day period for medication due to a 21-day treatment. So there's 9.5%, which went down to 874, which went down to 6.49. So significant observation. There are 8 or 9 studies from different systems I could have brought. But the point was, in the last respiratory disease greatly suppressed growth and feed conversion. But it also affects, mitigates the requirement for medication. And the farm workers very much appreciate that. But then you could say, does it affect mortality? And I think Brooke can speak to that under a really harsh regime. But in our case, there was a tendency for mortality to go down. But what we did measure is at the end of 42 days, what percent of the pigs did not thrive well enough to be transferred on to the finish. And so the highest, the pigs thrived better if they had higher levels of soybean meal. And for the veterinarians who wonder about the high soy, you can mitigate the high soy with superdose of phytase. And the next one is from a combination of Kansas State coordinated work with JBS in Missouri, and I think I have MS, it looks like Mississippi, but there were around 6,000 total pigs. JBS had their pigs in Missouri, and then New Horizon was working with Kansas State, the total of which were over 6,000 pigs in 2 different states. Now, they were simply looking at the last diet in the nursery, and this is actually in that Feedstuffs 3 that Erica has pointed out to you. And I'm showing this because the pigs were extremely healthy. Notice that in that last period, less than 1% of the pigs passed away or didn't thrive well enough to be transferred. But as you went from 17 to 26 to 33 up to, oh my goodness, 40% soy, can you imagine that? You have to really superdose that. There was quite a decrease in the level of being cold because of inability to thrive or death. And that's under a healthy situation. So under both health, but especially under conditions of disease, you have a problem. Now, from an Iowa system that Amanda Ellsburn, who's with Cargill, worked with, we have a diet here, hoping, oh my goodness gracious. Whoa, I think I went ahead to Brooks, sorry. And I'm a little regretful. I usually use red, blue, and black. Well, this time I used red, blue, and gray. So you'll have to look at the numbers. But we had a growing phase study that went from about 180 to, 80 pounds to 190 pounds. We had a control of corn soy. We always say that we can't use it, it's impractical. Well, we used it because we'd never used it, and it was quite revealing. So we have a corn soy, 800 pounds of soy there. Then for these other diets here, we have 600 DDGs. And the amount of soy decreases in those steadily because we're adding more in synthetic lysine. So the first 21 days, flu hit. Didn't expect it. This kind of thing was shown by Gene Gorley and me a number of years ago. We sat and waited till flu hit us, and it did. So the pigs during that first 3 weeks, in terms of their growth rate, gained about £1.95 pound, despite the fact they had flu. The pigs with a lower level of DDGs, a lower level of soy because of the DDGs, grew at 161, and then it goes down into the early 150s. So that shows the effect that we've seen 42 times over the years, that higher soybean levels help during periods when you have respiratory disease problems. Now, one could think, how in Sam Hill would you apply this? Well, it's very simple. You go talk to Eva Jablonski, who did this routinely beginning in 2015. And she and I worked together, a veterinarian and PhD or MS nutritionist. Brooke is a DVM and a PhD nutritionist, perfect type, to work with a nutritionist. The nutritionists by themselves probably won't get this done. But she had sow farm flows that she was able to characterize based on what they were doing, and she put the diet in with the higher soy at the time she typically had problems. So some say it's not practical. Eva would say it was duck soup. So in terms of the feed conversion, again, the same diets, corn soy versus DDGs. The corn soy had a 206 feed conversion. The DDGs with less soy had a 239, went out here and it went on up to 258. So the point is, unbelievable suppression of growth and feed conversion and need for medication, ability to thrive in pigs. Just to show you something you probably can't see. The pigs became healthy, and for the last 2 periods, feed conversion came back to more normal. They equated, but when you get soy too low, I can tell you, if you have soy too low, you will not achieve maximum gain, nor will you achieve best feed conversion. That's an important feat. The second point is if you have soybean at a level that maximizes growth, but you have too much DDGs in it, it destroys your ability to maximize growth, which is the key for summertime. You want to have a good level of soy in there, but you don't want to have too high a level of DDGs to destroy your growth opportunity. So I've set the stage, which is what I wanted to do for Brooke and Ryan, to show why it is that we might be seeing these profound effects. These are not typically nutrition observations. Nutritionists jump up and down when gains affected about 0.02 or 3. I never have jumped up and down about that. And feed conversions small. This is big. When you see these kind of changes, you know the pigs are sick. So Brooke will now take over. We've set the stage for her and prepare to be impressed. Thank you.
All right.